Are you gonna share a screen or not yet?
I don't know, maybe if a topic comes up where I might need the whiteboard.
The whiteboard?
Us?
Are you gonna
Yeah.
share a whiteboard
Oh, yeah.
when he's ready? Okay,
I'm here for the support.
thank you. And then there's a purchase agreement here. showing the-
Yeah, leave that. I want to leave that up for something I've been noticing. I just want to talk about.
This one you can't build. You need one that
I don't
you
need
can
it, no.
build. Can we move it?
Huh?
You're good?
Hey, good morning, everybody. How's it going, guys? Today, there's no planned topics. Today, I just wanted to leave it open for you guys. I just took an hour block in my calendar for any topics that you guys think you might want. Either my opinion about how I would handle a situation that you dealt with, that you're maybe not 100% certain that you handled it properly. So basically, it's just open floor. And then me and Wyatt will give our opinions on it. Wyatt, you can wait for this class today. Anything going on? What's happening, guys?
I'll give you.
I
got a scenario always. Okay. I have my listing and I have a buyer for it, my own buyer, who is a very, very close client of mine that I've sold multiple homes to in the past. And I really want to help him get a house for him and his family. He wrote a good offer, however, I couldn't get him pre-approved with priority one. I sent it to another guy, couldn't get him pre-approved, and now he's pre-approved with Citizens Bank. And I just, like my gut, knowing that I sent them to my preferred lenders and like they couldn't get it done, I don't know. I don't know which step to take.
Is he the best offer on the table? So we have to, whenever we get hired to sell anything, our primary fiduciary responsibility is always to the seller, right? So the first question I'm gonna ask is, with that being said, is he the best offer or would he potentially match or be the best offer for the seller?
As far as price,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay, great. The next step that I would take is disclose to the seller. Here's this offer. I know this client. He's a good client of mine. He wants to buy the property. However, he wasn't able to obtain financing through our in-house lender and another lender. But he did get run through Citizens Bank. So what I need to let you know is if we do indeed move forward with this, I'm hoping, and you need this cut right there. Before he does that, he needs to talk to this lender at Citizens and say, to my knowledge, with our in-house lender, he wasn't able to obtain financing. Are you sure you've done everything you need to do to make sure he can get a pre-approved? Did you see the tax returns? Did you pull the credit? Verify income? You have to take the extra steps with this lender to the lender to say, because that lender might have just kicked it out quick and be like, oh no, we're actually still waiting for him to bring the tax returns, or we're waiting for this. So you gotta find out. So then once, let's say you did that and he said, yeah. So I'm gonna tell the seller, I talked to his lender at Citizen and he said he's good to go. So if we do move forward, there, and it doesn't work out, I wanna let you know that with our lender, he wasn't approved. Their Citizens saying yes, so if it doesn't work, that's gonna be on Citizens. So you just took care of yourself, so you're not gonna be the blame of that. Make sense?
Yeah,
What did you do?
I did call that lender and I told him, hey, he wasn't able to get approved with both lenders because CPI. I want you to recheck that. This is the taxes on the home. This is the price. I know he has timeshares that are very expensive, monthly payments. Have you seen that? He's like, yeah, I got that. He's right there. I'm not gonna lie, he's right there on the borderline. Whereas DTI is like, they need 50 something percent FHA. And he's like right there waiting for it because the taxes are super low. It's 2,400 a year. So he's like, I'm like, well, I told him, he wasn't able to get through. Are you sure? Are you confident? Have you checked everything? I know the seller, he said everything's good to go, he's very confident, good closing, less than 3 years.
Good. And so what ended up happening? Seller go with his offer?
I didn't discuss it with the seller yet, but I
Yeah.
have a purchase agreement signed and I'm gonna present today about 2 or 3.
If he's the best now, if there is an offer similar that didn't have these type of, we'll call them red flags, I would probably opt my seller to take the other offer, depending on who their lender is and all the qualifications. Now, if this one is clear cut, head and shoulders above any other offer, then you're gonna tell the seller, you know, it's up to you. If you wanna go for it, I did my part. Lender seems strong. Let's move forward and we'll stay on top of them just to make sure if any issues arise, we'll know about it quickly.
Makes sense.
So everything we do again is fiduciary, act on the best benefit of the seller, and then two, disclosure. Say it, you know, over disclose, over tell them what you know to your client. Therefore, if something goes wrong, they can't circle back and, you know, we trusted you that, you know, you would tell us that, you know, if they can get pre-approved and things like that. So just disclose what you know.
It's always good to be told. Mike told me that a long time ago, and still reminds me of it, because I was told, instead of you saying, yeah, he's good, he's approved, or whatever. I was told he was approved. My communication with the lender, I was told. So this way, like, you're just relaying the information as opposed to taking ownership of it. But on the lending end too, I mean, was there a cosigner introduced? Was there another, portfolio product that the first two lenders didn't have, that the third lenders are introducing? And there's all kinds of stuff as to why someone would get denied in two places and get approved in a third. So I wouldn't so much be concerned if I did my due diligence with the lender, but also I would kind of set my seller up to saying, I did my part on checking with my lender, this is the answer, the other lender, this was the answer. Now this third lender said this, so.
I guess we got a YouTube question. This is new. From Lake Shalou, talking to for sale by owner. I'm getting a lot of action on my own. I've had multiple agents and buyers contact me. I don't need a real estate agent. How would you respond? I'm getting a lot of action on my own. I've had multiple agents and buyers contact me. But my first question would be, if you're getting a lot of action, why aren't we under contract? What's the why? Why have you not accepted an offer if you're getting a lot of action? Because if Leif, can you hear? Can we hear them?
It's on Zoom.
Leif, unmute yourself if you can speak. Okay, he's talking to for sale by owner, co-sale by owner saying, oh, I got a lot of action. I don't need a real estate agent. I've been like once a week in here probably talking about this script. When I talk to the sellers right now is absolutely. And the greatest seller's market of all time, you do not need a real estate agent to find a buyer. What you need me for is to prove to you that I'm going to get you the highest and best offer for that home. Because if you put a for sale by owner on the lawn, the greatest seller's market of all time, you're going to find a buyer. You take that offer and then you close the transaction. And I ask you, do you know for certain that you got the highest and best offer for that home? The answer to that question is going to be no. Now, what we do, here, I'll let you join the class right here. I'm actually talking. So what we do, I'm talking to the seller about if we can prove highest and best, is we're going to professionally photograph the home. I'm going to bring out the drone. We're going to do drone footage. We're going to make really nice social media, which I show them. You know, anyone that's seen my listing presentation, I'll show them the social media, and I have flyers that show them that. And then we're gonna let it go coming soon, maybe for a day, 2 days, what we see is the best to generate a lot of excitement and a lot of buzz for the listing. And then we're gonna let the showing start. And then I'm gonna let the showings run for about 3 days, 3 to 4 days, so I can get you 20, 25, 30, 35 showings, 3 offers, 4 offers, 5 offers, 10 offers, whatever it may be. And then when we decide on the one that we're gonna accept, then if I ask you that same question, did you take the highest and best offer for your home? How can you answer it no? The answer is yes, I did. So that's what you need a real estate agent for in the greatest seller's market of all time. Let me prove to you that I'm gonna get you the highest and best. Did you get that, Lay?
Yeah.
So the initial response, I don't know if you got the beginning, would be, you're absolutely right. You don't need me to find a buyer. You needed me to prove to you that I'm going to get you the highest and best for your property. That's what you do in a seller's market.
beautiful.
Okay,
I just love the gym, that's why.
I see, man. You're on FaceTime with the whole clip. Say hi to Lee.
Hi, Lee.
My KW family, I love you guys.
We love you too. Love to have you in this class as well. So thanks for participating. All right. I like that. What else, guys? Hi, Hibba.
I'm dealing with the situation right now with some sellers. Obviously, it's our job and our obligation to provide them with the best data possible for any listing that we have. And, you know, the three siblings, and they still are not understanding the market, not negotiating down on price like the first business did, and providing the data, giving them, you know, the comps and everything.
Talk about buyers or sellers?
So,
Is a seller. It's my listing. So the situation I'm in is they are adamant about keeping this property at 700,000 because they want people to come in and negotiate down, because in the contract about, you know, the seller does not perform, then they still owe, you know, so that whole statement in the contract is, you know, scaring them. And I keep telling them, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that. Well, what if we list the property at 529.9 and give an offer at 540 and we reject the offer? Is somebody gonna come after us and somebody gonna sue us? And, you know, so that is their fear right now.
yeah, it's a legitimate fear too, though, and it's actually something that I tell my sellers when we agreeing on a price, I tell them, don't agree, because this has been a conversation. Like, I've actually had sellers that we get full price for their home and they're mad. Because they keep hearing about multiple offer, highest and best, over asking. So what we have to do is we have to incorporate that into our pricing. So when I do my pricing routine, I always, when we agree, it's always we, and we're a team. When we agree on this number, and I'm gonna go through what I just told you guys, the professional photograph, the social media marketing, the multiple showings. And if we don't get that over asking, and we get this number, this asking price, I need to know that you guys are gonna be happy with this number. Or else that's the wrong number. Don't put an asking price in today's market that they are not happy with, meaning it's too low. Because then what you could do the perfect job. You could have those 30 showings and only get asking price, and all of a sudden they're unhappy with you. That's not fair for us. I would rather price it up 10 grand or 20 grand and let it have to come down, just so I prove to them. So that everything in the last 2 years, the conversation has been, I am going to prove to you. I am gonna use the data and show you. But that's what we do, because then it's not them against me, it's them against the market. The market talks, and I'll say that. I'll tell my clients all the time, I'm not always right. I have really great knowledge and experience and a good opinion of what I think is gonna happen, but I'm not always right. The market is always right. The market will talk. What we need to do is allow the market to talk to us. And the way you do that is by listing your home with the real estate agent and putting it on the market. If I just go for sale by owner, or if I sell it to my neighbor, I don't know what the market truly could give me because I didn't give the market a chance. So your situation, I know your situation, and I like it, and I know you're gonna end up selling that property, I promise. That you need to keep going at them with data. Let the market show, let the data show, let the feedback show. You guys have heard me say this before, you guys wanna be a great buyer's agent, always leave feedback. The listing agents will fall in love with you. If you're an agent that has a showing, instead of, I used to be that guy, I used to get the feedback, or they would call me for feedback, I'd be like, if they liked it, I would have called you. So obviously they don't like it. That's why I didn't give you feedback. Copy. That's the wrong way. Yeah.
I like sometimes I look at the feedback, but once I feel like not interested, I feel like I'm hurting their like feelings. It's weird.
You're helping. Exactly. You would, but you're helping. And I'll tell you why you're helping. Because if you do that to me, remember, you're hearing my conversation with my clients. I have my clients linked through the Sentry app of all the feedback that's forwarded to them, right? So what happens is when you do that, not interested, overpriced, home needs to be cleaned, whatever you say, you help the listing agent, because now if it's not selling and I go over my data and I say, this is what everyone else is saying. This is what the clients are saying. This is the feedback from the market. So now I can work price drops. You're giving me ammunition. If I have no data, no ammunition, no feedback, then my price drop is gonna be hard. Now, the hardest ammunition to work a price drop is no showings. For us, it's common sense. Nobody's seeing it because we're priced out of the market. I still don't want you guys to not take those listings, take those listings. But you're just gonna have to show. You're gonna have to keep using the comps in the area. This was listed, it sold in one day, this went over asking, this did that, this was their price. Your situations are very unique because of the land.
It is, and the sellers, it's three siblings that have to agree on everything, and one sees the data, and then the other two are not seeing it at all. So.
By choice, or you're not linking them up?
No, they just don't want to believe what the data is saying. They want to believe that their property is a gem, and I totally respect that, and I've given them that. I said, I respect everything that you're telling me, I'm just providing you the data. Here's the data, here's what you guys asked for the data, I've had 3 showings of it.
That property is gonna be really nice and appealing in May though. So if you can hang in there,
Well,
I think
it's
in May.
been relisted in mid-March, so.
yeah. Once we can get the snow down, especially once we can start getting some green in the grass and cutting it, because she's got big land. That's when those properties will really show well itself. But hang in there. Keep talking about the data and the market and the data and the market, and I'm on your side and I'm gonna fight for you and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. You just have to stay on your side. Time is the biggest ally of everything. So you just gotta, you let time have its effect.
And on that note, you have to generate the tolerate. So if your mindset is still stuck on that 700 that you got and how you're gonna sell it and how you're gonna finish it and do that and not do anything else, you're trapping yourself. You need to move on. You got the listing. Let the market do the work, let time heal it. And it's gonna be figured out. Meantime, let's go out there and help more sellers and more buyers out there that are sitting on the sideline, that we can help them and get done. That transaction, if it sells, when it sells, and it's gonna sell, inshallah, it's gonna be fine. There's no point to discuss it daily between my ears. Does that make sense? And you're not gonna be able to tolerate those type of things if you're not generating. It says you gotta generate to tolerate, meaning like if I wanna be able to tolerate an angry seller or an annoying seller, if I have 3, 5, 7, 8 of them, I don't care if I have 1 or 2 sellers that are annoying. I have 6 others that I'm happy with my service and I wanna do well for them. But if the only 2 I have are both annoying, my life is miserable. My job waking up every day is terrible because I'm babysitting those 2. So generate, so you'll be able to tolerate this situation.
So in those scenarios, what I work for is I wanna work for, give me the bottom line, lowest number that you would take, and let's list it for that price. And then if anybody's interested in it, we'll tell them this is our price, we're not negotiating. That's it. So you can try to work it down to that. If you want it, this is the price, that's the number. Because for that kind of property, the buyer who wants it, wants it. You know what I mean? They're either gonna knock down or renovate or do whatever they're gonna do. Here's our price, take it for that. So you're in the game. I believe, I know the property, I think it's gonna sell.
I mean, I see what's selling for similar prices and it's nowhere near. Yeah, it needs work, yeah, but it has a lot of potential.
I'm not doubting that it's not gonna sell, and I'm trying to convince them that it is gonna sell, but they have a number in mind, and they gave me that number, and I can't get any offers close to that, but again, it's just that.
Yeah, but you listed late fall, right?
Yeah, and I did tell
I
them
mean, you're
that,
late fall, winter right now, I mean.
Yeah.
Vacant land, this is not the best time to be selling it, or land right now in general, it's snow covered and it's cold and, but it'll happen from spring. What else going on?
Can we speak a little bit on explaining what procuring cause is and versus someone saying, I'm working with an agent, but he didn't show me or not show me? So we're getting a lot of.
Great topic.
Yeah.
Great topics. So HBAZ is working with a buyer, doesn't have an exclusive buyer agency agreement that connects the earnest money deposit or any dollar monetary amount to him. Maybe he has an agency disclosure filled out that he's working as a buyer's agent, but not an exclusive buyer agency agreement. Has a client, shows him properties for about 3 weeks. Next thing you know, sees the client in here with Mo Hashem. He went and seen a different property that HBAS didn't show him, and he's writing up a property with Mo Hashem. Did Mo Hashem steal HBAS's client?
No.
He was never HBAS's client to begin with. He was a customer. He was never his client, because you can't call someone a client unless you have an exclusive buyer agency or an exclusive right to sell contract. They're not really legally your client. Now, let's say he did. HBAS did, and he had, okay, your deposit is $3,000, and if you don't buy a property from me within X amount of time, you can either get that back, or if you buy through someone else, that money comes to HBAS. And then the client goes and buys through Mo Hashem. Did Mo Hashem still HBAS's client?
Yeah.
The answer is no,
No?
because Mo Hashem did his job, and he can sell that person that property, and Mo Hashem will make commission, but HBAS has right to that $3,000 now. So the agreement, if I'm the buyer and I'm here, and I sign with HBAS, and I give them a check, and then I go buy with Mo Hashem, there's nothing between them two ever. Now, I messed up, because I was supposed to have you go take me to that property that he did. Now will probably lose that money to you. And that's why the exclusive buyer agency agreements are great. Now, I don't think we have hardly anyone in here that does the exclusive buyer agency agreement, right? And personally, when I never used to do it either, because I always felt like I'm gonna work hard for them, and if I do my job, they're gonna buy from me. And you most of the time on acting in that good faith, you will be okay if you're doing a great job, but you will lose some buyers like that as well. Going back to Wattle's original question, I just kind of explained the difference between exclusive buyer agency agreement and agency disclosure. They're two different things. Now, procuring cause, especially in this day and age with the Zillow leads and the referrals and Realtor.com and all these leads flying all over this place. Remember, we have two sets of clients in your life. Imagine, let me write it.
What'd you say, HBAS? Are we sharing the screen already?
Is anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, let me get. Let's make sure just.
Hold on. There's something blocking. It's funny. Oh, it's your phone.
Oh, sorry.
You good?
We're screen
We're
sharing.
gonna do a new share. Yeah, I like to do it from the Zoom. I don't know.
Oh,
Or- Oh, no, it's not doing it right now, so. Oh my God.
So we have two sets of clients. We have loyal and non-loyal. They're all good. We meet a lot of people. I'll just bluntly tell them when they call me on some of my listings, and all of a sudden, they're my boy, and no, they want it, and first then, I'll tell them, listen, if anybody's getting this directly, it's gonna be one of my loyal clients. You're a free agent, and I have no problem with that. I respect that about you. You'll go to this one and that one and this one and that one, and you choose your thing. But I have a loyalty factor to those who are loyal to me. Now, these people are gonna be your sphere of influence. Everybody know what SOI is? And your referrals, who your SOI they send to you. These people are your loyal, and these people actually are gonna make up 80% of your business. And this was a fact given out at family reunion last week. According to our survey, 80%, it was like 47 SOI and like 37 referrals. 80% of all home sales last year came from here. So when you guys are brainstorming and thinking about your business and how am I gonna grow my business and what do I gotta do, who should take number one precedence? The people who already love you, the people who are already in your database. This is 80% of all home sales. You wanna lead generate? If anyone in here who's dedicating hours to for sale by owners and expired, those are great leads because they're already having an indicator of, I need to do something now, right? I need to sell something now, I need to do something now, but you should put an equal amount of time and energy into talking to them. You have to be going, they're in your phone book. They already love you, they want to hear from you, that's who you should be talking to. Now, your non-loyals, these are your Zillows and any other like, what would we call them? Incoming leads,
Clickers.
coming leads, clicks. Your non-loyals don't really care about you and who you are. They want to see the house. So, you know, what we teach inside of our team always is, when you get that lead, I used to be taught, like, I'll go back 5+ years ago, but we'll show them the house unless they're pre-approved. Totally wrong mindset. Totally wrong. Because also what we learned last week in family reunion was, of those, all the home sales in the country last year, it was almost 80% of those buyers and sellers worked with the first agent they met face to face. So you need to get face to face contact. So if you guys get a lead, you know, a lead comes in, a Zillow lead or whatever it is, take them to the house, meet them. Yeah, let them meet you. Let them understand that, wow, this person shows up, this person is professional, this person answered my question, this person let me in the home. Then you're gonna win that buyer. Then that leads to, how are you buying? Have you been pre-approved? What else can I find you? That comes next. Because think about it, when we get those calls all the time, these random phone numbers, and we answer it, and all of a sudden it's somebody trying to sell us something, aren't you initially annoyed? Do you trust that person? It's the same thing. So they're calling what they think is to get into the house, and now they got a person asking them personal financial business. Do they want to give that information to you? No. What do they want? They want to see that house. Take them, let them in that home, and then you get to meet them and get to know them, and then over time, what can this person become? Start walking over here, right? Because now you know them. You met them. You get to know them a little bit better. We can take them to the loyal side, because this side right here, again, is 80% of your business. And if we treat them well, and we follow up with them, and we let them know we care about them, and we manage our database properly, this will feed you for life. Actually, everyone in here right now, if you didn't even take any of this, and you were great over here, would be probably a top 20% producing agent in the company. Every single one of you, if you did this well. See, the thing is, with a lot of our loyal people, I'm guilty myself, we think like they know this is what I do, and they know that if they were gonna sell, that they would call me. They don't. If you're not reaching out to them and letting them know that you care about them and checking in on them, and this is what I do, and asking them for business. You always ask them for business. When you call, ask them, who can I help? Who do you know that right now is you're looking to buy or thinking about selling that I can help? They like that. You give that. So if you can do this well, you'll be a top producing agent in the company. Now, if you can do this well and
Enhance.
some of that, you're on your way. You're on your way to building a big business. Now, some might need to start here in order to get these people start becoming loyal and building up this SOI. You might need to start there. I've said this before. This is my vision of the real estate agent's career. Real estate agent gets his license. Tells his mom and dad and aunts and uncles, oh, I got my license. Their conversation when he's not around is, yeah, Hassan got his license, but you know that industry is so hard, and his cousin Dave is in there. And I don't know what Hassan's gonna do. I wish he'll go back to school. I don't know, but maybe. But that industry is really hard. That's year one. Year two, real estate topic comes up. Yeah, I'm thinking about this. I know Hassan's doing it, but you know, he's still young. He's not that experienced, so I'm gonna call Dave. Year three, real estate subject comes up. Yeah, you know, I think Hassan's still doing it. I don't know. Maybe we talk to him, but you know what? He's still kind of new. But maybe I don't know. Let me see. Maybe I'll call Hassan and ask him a question. Ask him a question. Okay. Year four, real estate topic comes up. Call Hassan. Year five, call Hassan. Year six, he's the only guy I only use. He's the only one. So you have to grow. It takes time before this sphere starts trusting you in our industry. Because really, they know 40-hour credit class. What really did you do? You didn't go get a master's degree or anything like that to obtain your license. When you initially first get it, your sphere doubts you. So the non-loyals don't care, right? The non-loyals, even if they knew you got your license yesterday, if you let them in that house that they wanted to see, they could care less. They're good to go. They just want the house. Your sphere is going to be the one that initially will doubt you the most. Then after time goes on and you prove them, then they start trusting you and they start feeding you and you're the only person. But remember, it takes that consistent effort over time. To me, that time is like 5 years. You know, you got to be consistent in your efforts for 5 years. Your efforts to not only involve those touching with them and calling them, they involve your social media marketing, which honestly, this room, you guys are phenomenal, man. You guys are doing great. You guys got that part down. Just keep it going regularly. Don't quit. Don't give up. And over time, you'll win out and you'll succeed in this business. Refresh my memory. How did we get to this conversation?
Procuring cause and showing the property. No, it's good, because
So now with procuring cause, with those non-loyals that do call you and you show up and show them, even if they're in a contract with anybody else, it's got no bearing on you. It's got no bearing on you. Once you show them that property, if a commission is received by that buyer showing that property, it's 99.9% yours, no matter what. I don't care what contract they have with anyone else, that's between them and them. They might be liable to that person for some money. It's got nothing to do with you. So if any other agent calls you and ever says, you stole my client, it's basically impossible to do in our business. There's no stealing of clients.
or you showed my.
Now, ethically, if somebody's under contract, let's talk at a seller and you're contacting that seller and saying, why'd you live with this person and why'd you do this? That's board violation, right? That's ethically board violations. You can't do that. Buyers who are under buyer agency contract and you're actually calling that buyer and saying, don't work with this person, work with me. It's not as much of a violation as an actual seller under contract to sell a home. Still, we wouldn't advise that. Don't be doing that. It's not good for you. So you guys understand that with procuring cause? I actually lost a procuring cause case before and had to give up the whole commission. You guys want to hear that quick story? Yeah. So I had a client of mine. He was driving around on a weekend and he seen a property in Farmington Hills, called on the sign. It was a Sunday. He didn't want to bother me. Called on the sign, the agent, good job, good agent, showed up to the property, showed it to them, and then he told her, okay, I'm gonna let my agent know. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, I'm gonna be your agent. He's like, no, you're not, I don't wanna work with you. She's like, yeah, I am. I showed you the property, you're gonna, he didn't like her at all, I'll just put it like that. So he called me and was like, yeah, I sold this property, I wanna buy it, but I'm not buying it through that lady. Tell her, if you're not involved and you represent me, tell her I'm not buying it. So I called her, told her what happened. She said, I'll give you 25% of the buyer side. I said, I'm sorry, that's not gonna work. He wants me to fully represent him and I'm gonna earn my 3% commission, and if I don't, he's not gonna buy the property. She said, let me call you back. She waited about an hour, she called me, she's like, okay, send the offer. Now, at the time, I think I'm smart, and I write in the purchase agreement even that the listing broker agrees that Michael Phillips is the buyer agent and will receive 3% commission. I write it in the purchase agreement. Everything gets signed, we go to closing, we close, I earn my commission. 1 week later, we get a board case in the mail for procuring cause. That she was a procuring cause and she was entitled to that 3% commission, not me. I'm thinking slam dunk, she has nothing. I got it in the purchase agreement. The buyer clearly said he wouldn't buy it had I not been involved. Long story short, we go into the case, I lose. Because I didn't do anything that made him want to see that home initially, and she showed it to him. I had to give all that commission back.
Wow.
So, and the reason why the purchase agreement meant nothing, because you think about it from a court perspective, if that agent would have fought and said, no, wait, I'm not gonna accept this, who would lose?
Seller.
Seller would have lost. So the listing broker did the right thing and the right job by putting that on the side of their compensation and their commission. This is not important. What's important is the buyer and seller complete their transaction. Then we'll go handle the issue about the commission later.
And on that note too, the purchase agreement is an agreement between who and who?
Buyer and seller.
Buyer and seller.
Then the
What are the
Oh.
cornerstones of the purchase agreement?
price that they, closing the deposit. And,
Consideration.
inspections, due diligence.
Expiration, right? Those are it. Has nothing to do with you're gonna pay me this, you're gonna pay me that, you're gonna do this, agent is gonna do this to this agent showed it because this all doesn't matter on a PA. That's a co-op agreement between the one broker and the other broker. Had he gotten a co-op agreement probably between the broker and the broker saying, we're gonna cooperate on this, it probably wouldn't have made it to that far into the, you follow?
She would have inadvertently blocked her own sale and actually could have been in a lawsuit against her own seller had she fought me on that. They made the right
100%.
decision. They were very smart. So I learned a big lesson from that. I wasn't happy about it, but I learned a big lesson. And two, here, when you guys are gonna have, this is gonna happen often. You're gonna have buyers call you and they're gonna tell you, I mean, if you've been in the business more than 2 years, you've probably got this call. Hey, I just seen this property and I like it. All right, how many times you get this call, Ronnie?
I was just there.
And I'm like, what do you mean? You just seen the property? Like, who'd you see it with? They're like, yeah, the guy was there and he let me in. Now, like, you guys, procuring calls, you just lost. Can you get involved and talk to the other agent? And you'll know right away. Some be like, yeah, man, don't worry about it. Just go ahead, write it up. We're good. You can just talk, but like, you gotta let them know. And that happens too with our clients initially. When we're meeting with them and we're explaining the process, you explain to them.
Yeah.
If you see anything you like, whether it's on Zillow or a sign or anyone wants to take you there, let me know and I'll go ahead and get us set up and get us in ASAP. Don't go there with anyone else. You have to tell them these things. Now, hold on 1 second, Hassan. Open houses. Procuring causes don't apply in open house. Our clients can go to an open house without us and decide to write with us. The listing agent has no recourse to procuring costs. You guys got that? So you're free to send your clients to whatever open house they want. They don't even have to tell that agent they're working with you, right? It's not required. So procuring costs doesn't apply in open houses.
So in this scenario, you just said, if you have exclusive right to buy, the contract with your buyer,
Yep.
does that one protect you or you still have to pay the 3%?
Great question. It might have helped. I didn't have one, and they did ask me about that. However, if I did, the only thing I would have been entitled to is whatever monetary amount was in that exclusive buyer agency contract between me and the buyer. So in my opinion, that agent still would have been receiving of the buyer side 3% of the commission. My buyer would have owed me whatever we had in our contract.
Well, Mike, when it comes to open houses, I wouldn't just assume that your client's gonna stay loyal to you. Because in this market, they're, you know, the people holding the open houses will probably say, hey, we have offers, but if you use me, I could, you know, as long as you have a listing agreement with your current agent, I could probably make it work, right? Because they're so desperate out here. I've seen it happen over the last 2 weeks with 2 of my clients. So it doesn't matter who you are in this business.
Great piece of advice. It was your advice, son, with open houses in this market. Be with them.
100%.
Be with them. Two, there's a great lesson there in being a little bit lazy. Where, yeah, there's open houses, go there without me. You take that risk, you're rolling the dice, right? You go without me and run the risk of talking to the assisting agent that tells them, you know, let me take care of this for you, I'll represent you, I'll make sure you get it, because the wife is like, oh my God, I love the house, I have to have it. And the listing agent's hearing this, and I can get it for you, let's go right to offer right now. And then the agent's like, oh yeah, but what about this? Don't worry, they'll be fine. You know what I mean? These conversations don't take place if you're with them. Great piece of advice, Ron.
So four agreements, real quick. 4 potential contracts could be involved between buyer, seller, listing agent, and buyer's agent. First clear one that all of us are aware of is the purchase agreement, which is between the buyer and the seller. That's straightforward. You have no involvement in it. Some purchase agreements, as a matter of fact, don't have, it's recommended that they don't have the agent's name anywhere. So the purchase agreement between the buyer and the seller, right?
Yeah.
Remember, we used to write those where there's no place for us to put our name as an agent.
You guys are just signing those as witness. by
Yeah.
the way. So,
The other one, which is also many of you are familiar with, which is the exclusive right to sell between the seller and his listing agent. Many of you didn't know or don't know, but should know that there's a built-in, unwritten, or it's written, but it's an implied, or what do you call it, of a broker co-op agreement. The minute they put it in real comp and they say, I'm paying a buyer's agent 3%. That's your agreement. That's your co-op. You don't sign that with every offer, but when you do the agency disclosure and say, I'm the buyer's agent, you're entitled yourself to what the real comp offer is. That's what governs.
And also just add in, make sure you guys save your MLS tickets, because most people are coming, they're not realizing that they're in 2.5%. They're coming in, putting 3%, that they're collecting commission, and no one's paying attention.
man, that
Or
happens
it's
way
not
more.
so-
That happens
Yeah.
way more than you guys even know.
So I think that down.
Correct.
Sometimes they can change it.
That's why you wanna make sure you save the PDF with your purchase agreement and make sure that gets sent with your PA to the.
Now.
listing agent.
Very good point. Thank you, Fatima. Now, the fourth one, which is not very common and not a lot of people do, which is the exclusive buyer's agreement. I'm working with this buyer, and he's gonna pay me 3,000, 4,000 retainer fee or a deposit fee towards the purchase of any property within a 6 months period, within a 90-day period, within a year, right? Or could be specific to a property, where the seller comes in and says, I'm not gonna pay a commission. It's a for sale by owner, good for you. Your buyer wants it. I'm not paying a commission. Give me 150. You wanna work with your buyer, they pay you the commission. This is where you would do it. A commission agreement between you and your buyer for the purchase of that particular property. Okay, so when you have those scenarios, you need to see me or Mike, and we can structure this. But basically, there are 4 potential contracts going in place. So make sure where you stand as an agent on that transaction. What buyer has an agreement with the buyer's agent? As a listing agent, I'm not privy to that information. I don't have that. I have no idea. I'm sorry, your buyer called, or you have an agreement with your buyer. Your buyer called, I showed the property. That's the extent of I'm never involved in this. Just like when we go to court with issues where the seller says, I told my agent, I'm not including the washer and dryer. But we wrote in the PA, we didn't know what you told. We don't have the listing agreement. When we write an offer, do we get the exclusive right to sell? To see what the agreement is between the buyer, between the listing agent and the seller? We don't. We basically go by what the buyer wants on the PA. This will prevail for any transaction between buyer and seller. Does this help? Oh, yeah.
Another thing I wanted to go over with you guys real quick. Where's those documents? Purchase agreement, did we shut everything?
No.
Maybe it's on one of those windows. No,
That's what's on there.
yeah, probably one of those tabs, other one. This one.
Okay. Yeah, looks good. Let me share it.
Okay. You guys, I've been seeing a lot of purchase agreements with too many, nothing on the PH should ever be blank. Don't leave anything blank. If something is a blank, either cross or put NA. Because I got one right now that's actually my listing and it's sold by one of our agents in here. And this part number 26 about city inspection. This blank part where it says provided repairs do not exceed blank, he left it blank. And the city inspection report is pretty big. Now, if my seller really wanted to fight it and say, yeah, but I said I would provide a C of O as long as they don't exceed blank, 0. They might have a good case in court. So what I usually previously had in there was no cap, meaning there's no limit. You're getting us a C of O, there's no limit. No cap, no limit, right?
Whatever it takes to get this.
But don't leave that blank. You can put yourself in a big scenario. The thing for him, I'm in a very good relationship and control of my seller. I'm gonna get him the C of O. But when it's blank, that's a problem. Don't leave blanks, guys.
What should we put?
Yeah.
I put no cap. No cap to me means there's no limit. There's no cap on how much they're gonna spend. They're gonna get me the C of O.
As a buyer, you would want to do that if you're asking for a CFO. That would be the right thing to do for your buyer. As a listing agent, if you know that you have that stuff, he might come back and say, listen, seller got the report, does not want to provide all those items. He's willing to pay up to this much amount to get the CFO. Right? So you negotiate it. But as a buyer's agent, when writing the PA and you're looking for a CFO, you want to put no cap.
Yes, you should.
So we're supposed to put like just a straight line in there then, and then maybe
No,
not,
you
not
write no cap.
like, no, on the other ones, on the other ones.
Yeah, if there's anything like, you know, like, right, let's say we're not doing a private inspection, I'm not gonna still leave that blank, I'll write NA. Because we waived the private. Just don't, get in a good habit of never leaving any blanks.
What do you talk for the one with escrow? They don't see that part is confusing. Like if they have 30 days to leave the house, why is they asking for monetary amount in escrow? Is that for damages?
Yeah.
Says it on there.
I put, did you put 0?
No, it says it on there.
How much
whatever
are
it
you
is.
gonna charge per day? Like,
So the first line is how much you're gonna charge per day.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the second, the third line? over
in
there?
case they make damage.
That's if you wanna add a damage escrow on there.
But let's read it. So seller shall deliver possession to the buyer either at closing or by 12 noon, X amount of days after closing. To apply, if no choice is made, whatever. If possession is not delivered at closing, from and including day of closing, through date of vacating property, seller shall pay the sum of.
Call
we're
it
gonna charge the
$50.
$50 per day, which is your per diem. That's what you would pay per day for occupancy. Designated escrow agent, which is a title company, shall return from amount due to seller the sum of 1.5 times the daily fee. So they're gonna hold $50 times X amount of days times half that amount on top of it. So 1.5 times.
So
of
let's
that.
say it was $1,500 for the month, they're gonna hold $2,250.
Exactly, which is 1,500 plus the 750. Now, in addition, seller shall be entitled to any unused portion of the version. Now here, designated escrow agent in the amount occupancy. Pay the sum of the per day designated escrow agent. Is this the correct? This is
Yeah.
the correct one you have.
Times total days for occupancy and
And
additional
additional-
blank in escrow for damages after possession is delivered. So let's say another $2,000. Now, it's, where are we at, right? This is a negotiation. If I'm representing the buyer and I believe I'm gonna get this deal accepted and I can add things in that really protect my buyer. And I'm taking into things of consideration, like I walk into the home and it's a mess, terrible condition, maybe tenant occupied. I gotta protect my buyer. Versus I'm walking into the property, mint, super clean, this is clean, lives here, cleanest home in the world. I'll put 0 on that. I want to get this property for my client. The more I'm representing a buyer I add in there and put bigger amounts, odds are there's a multiple offer highest and best situation going on. This is gonna be hamper my client potentially. You guys gotta weigh it out. In protecting your client, weigh it out. How do I wanna use this? You get it? You can put zero. Well, one thing that happens on this a lot that I don't like, so I like the intention of it. The intention of it is to protect our clients, right? To hold the seller some type of monetary value that they're gonna hand over the property nice and clean to our buyers, right? Here's what happens. Buyers go and see the home, let's say one showing. Let's say they did 2 showings, one and they went again and they decided we want this home.
Mm.
Then they did a private inspection. So now they go, they do a private, now they've seen it 3 times. Now they get the key. And all of a sudden the furniture's gone and there's a lot of other things and behind the couch, there was this little scratch or this or that. And they're like, oh, the scratch wasn't there. I didn't see that scratch. I want the $2,000. Seller's like, it's not, scratch doesn't cost $2,000. You know what I mean? You just touch it up. Who's the judge and jury of this money? Not me, not you, not their agent, not the title company. Would end up going to small claims potentially. So it's something that puts more things into the deal that we're gonna have to deal with. So that's why I say use it wisely. You'll know. You go into a property and it's a mess and you have good indicators that this seller's not gonna give it to your client clean, protect your client, put some money. You see it, it's beautiful, it's clean, nice home. Let them pay the rent and leave it there. Because even if there's no money there, you get your final walkthrough, right? Now, occupancy, the deal already closed, seller already got their money, damages take place, still go to small claims. Take pictures, this is what happened, this is the damage when we moved in. There's courts for that. You don't need money to say that, oh, now you can go to court for the money. Even if there was no money, they can still go to court. That help?
And it will happen.
Yeah.
And have a very person.
Oh, yeah.
After the furniture was done.
Appliances all the time, like the right way. If you want to be a super buyer's agent, the right way when negotiating a deal is, of course, you write in here.
You can write the brand name or the description.
And the serial number. So if you want to be great, you put the brand and the serial number on an addendum. These are the appliances that are included, bill of sale.
I think she was also, were you also asking about like if they have 30 days free occupancy, do you have to go those blanks the same way?
Yeah.
Also that.
You
that's
put
what-
zero, you
if
put
they have-
$0 per day.
Yeah, but what happens, like I had a situation, they were supposed to stay 30 days, but then they wouldn't leave after 30 days. But there was no dollar amount, because I put 0 for after the 30 days, where do you put that? And then.
Additional conditions. Where's the one? I think.
But-
So he wouldn't leave, we have to give him an additional 10 days and fight for
But
it.
that's, okay, so that's different, 2 different topics. Your original purchase agreement stated that they leave after 30 days.
Yes.
Now, they didn't leave after the 30 days, right? 30 days come in and they're not gonna leave. You,
Well, He told me you put 0 there. They
You-
came back with the problem, I put 0
no,
there.
but you're not charging them occupancy. Are you charging them
No,
occupancy?
but after 30 days, they wanted to.
I know, but that's not gonna cover it here. Okay. Now, here's the coaching on this. Your client's supposed to get the keys on Monday. It's Friday. Doesn't look like they're moving. You and the listing agent or the buyer's agent or the listing agent are in communication. Seller's not leaving. What's the seller wanna do? He'd like 10 more days. Okay, how much is it gonna cost? They agree on $100 a day, so it's $1,000. Your client needs to get the $1,000 in advance then. Now he brings him the money before he finishes the occupancy. Not pay him after he leaves. $1,000 have to be upfront
So
then.
they can't argue that I put 0 on that one.
No,
what they
because
said.
that's done. The 30 days are over and your purchase agreement is done. That contract is over. That was satisfied. Done. Now, they didn't deliver the occupancy to him, but if they're in this agreement, he has to evict them. If they get to an agreement and they say, I want to pay, then I'll say, okay, my buyer will let you stay the 10 days, but they need that $1,000 or $500 in advance. Otherwise, we're going to go and evict them. You follow what I mean? The mistake many times happens is they say, okay, stay the extra 10 days, it's $50 a day. I'm gonna give you the, I'll get the money after you leave, and they never leave and they never pay.
It says, if seller fails to deliver possession as specified herein, seller shall pay twice the daily occupancy fee per day and may be liable for cost of eviction, actual attorney fees, damages, and other costs incurred by buyer in obtaining possession and collecting any amount due. So what I would do, it's a great point you made, is actually put, you know, 0 per day, $50 per day in the event seller has not vacated after 30 days. So at least we have something there. You can put it, you can write it right under.
It doesn't say the amount of days, does it, up there? 'Cause it says after it's closed.
By noon, and it's blank days after closing. So you can just write it in another line right there, type it, you're going above and beyond, which is being a great buyer's agent.
But Mike, just a comment.
Yeah.
I think I love the way the contract is written without even adding the additional dating stay. Because that could motivate some of the sellers to stay longer, where it's gonna be hard to kind of give.
It's a great point.
So.
I don't do it, but again, I think if you didn't do it and you took that to an attorney, even if that said $30 a day at 0 a day, they would get money for your client. If, let's say a seller stayed for another month or something like that, they would be able to. So our attorney actually drafted this. By the way, Fatima, I see on that last sentence, real estate brokers are no responsible. It should say not. If you want to let Joe Kadef know that.
But how did it go? I'm now curious. Did they end up leaving?
No, they stayed 10 days, but they paid $50 a day.
Okay,
They
good.
agreed they can attend them after.
Yeah, honestly, the worst transactions, you'll be a grumpy real estate agent doing working deals after they already closed. It's the worst.
No, I always keep up with them like a month after, so.
I know,
And there was
it's
a-
great, but when they just keep dragging on, it's not when we're at our best. We're at our best before we get paid.
Shady Busy, are you on Zoom?
What else? Anything else, guys?
Is there a way
Sometime-
we can go over the flood
Sure.
on the contract? I mean, I know it's just, I think for the sake of it, because I noticed a lot of the people like in my mentor program, I always like when they send me the contracts, it's always left blank and I would have to go back and tell them, hey, check if it's a flood zone. Because you can't just leave it blank.
It's not good to leave blank, you're right, and I think I'm guilty. I think I always usually do leave this one blank. That buyer may at his expense obtain a floodplain cert within X amount of days. So that just gives your client the right to go and see, is this flood zone, is it not flood zone, and if it indeed is, are they acceptable with it or not? It's another contingency in there, just like a private, where when in this market, if you start putting days in here that you need, if you're going in a multiple offer high, the best, you're pretty much just asking for them not to accept your offer. And especially if it's fairly simple today to find out is your property floodplain or not, 5 minutes worth of work.
Yeah, there are some properties that may appear they are, but in reality they're not, or they may not be on your map, because the map is not 100%, right? So they may appear to be, but they're not in the flood and vice versa. So there are some critical areas that you have to be careful with, like 48125, a very small portion of 48124, a little portion of Redford, a little bit of the, Hines going to Westland, Garden City, that area, because there's a creek there. So get in the habit of actually
Always check.
checking.
When you pull it on PRD, just put PRD to verify square footage and stuff anyways, right?
Yeah.
So when you put PRD, just lay that overlay for the flood zone and just check. And then in some of them, like here in our flood zone over here, 4124 and 4125, a lot of them that are showing in on the map have now been deemed out. You can go to FEMA and start pulling additional reports and finding if they're out. Question would arise here, so if I'm representing a seller and it's in the flood zone, do we have a duty to inform the public that the property is in a flood zone?
No.
Isn't our revenue?
We don't, because the only requirement is the seller's disclosure statement And the seller's disclosure statement says, does the seller own flood insurance on the property? That's a whole different question than is it in the flood zone or not? So they might have flood insurance, or if I own it free and clear, and the mortgage is not requiring me to have flood insurance, and I say, I don't need it, I don't want it, but I'm in a flood zone, so I put no, but I am in a flood zone, did the seller do anything wrong there? No, they answered truthfully, actually. The burden is always on the buyer to find these things out. Remember, buyer beware, buyer beware, buyer beware. Everything is, you're representing buyers, don't take it as the seller had to tell us, the seller needed to disclose. The seller only needs to answer the questions on the seller's disclosure statement. That's it. And is the property in a flood zone is not on there. It says, does the seller own flood insurance?
Who knows what the BTVAI stand for? Buyer to verify all information.
Man, when I see that, that's red flag. That means the listing agent is saying, I'm guessing on a lot of the stuff, so good luck to you guys.
Or when the square footage, it will say owner.
Guys, you guys need to be great, and the number one thing you should be protective of your clients on is the square footage.
100%.
There's so many agents out there. Every time you see approximate and all that stuff as the source, go check. Don't only check PRG, double check with BSA, and make sure your clients know what they're buying.
The rounding
We're
up,
talking on average now, $200 a square foot.
Yeah.
They estimate, it's put 15, but really it's 1368. We're talking about 130 square feet
15 grand.
at 200 a square foot, talking a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then what's gonna happen is in the future, they go to sell it and you're like, well, yeah, it's only 1368 square feet. But you didn't tell them that that the agent was approximating. That's bad. That's bad.
especially the square footage.
So I actually have that right now because I have a house that I'm going to be listing and the last 3 listings showed 1,100 square feet. When I pulled it up on the BSA, it showed 1,236.
That's how you win
And
clients.
they did not even know.
So those clients got a bonus.
They were excited.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
Just,
when
you know, some agents, they copy the previous ticket.
100%.
And, or they just check PRD.
Yeah.
So what happens on PRD is Wayne County Public Records, and then BSA is your actual city records. So if I did an addition to my home or did some type of alteration and change and added square footage, the Wayne County Public Records is not gonna get it, the city one will.
Right.
So that's where a lot of times I've won listings like that, where they're interviewing multiple agents and I had the correct square footage because I paid the $2 with BSA and the sellers were like, see, the husband, see, I told you, I knew it was this. I don't know why the other agent was saying with that. I knew right now, this is my listing, I got it. Because I did the extra work to know their true square footage.
The website is BSA.
New young lady in the room, what's your name?
Iman.
Iman, welcome, welcome.
you.
You joined us recently, right?
Yeah, like, I think 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, give it up for Iman, yeah. How's it going? All right. Well, nice to see you here.
Where do we find that BSA?
BSA online. Let's see.
Yeah, each city of.
Supposedly HVAC has it cracked. So.
I've been using it 5 years for free. I own the product.
Supposedly HVAC has the.
So you just go here and then I make an account and just put some money in there, but you just go to whatever city you want and you'll have their records. You just type in the address. Some are free, some charge $2.
I think it's free now for all three.
So I show them how to do
Free?
it.
$3.
It's gone now, so it's not two anymore.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, guys. All right, we're not online, right?
So, two, what it gives a sketch of the property as well. And when you go on your listing appointments and you show them the sketch, sellers like that. Sellers like that. Anything you can bring to the table when against someone else that like, maybe they didn't even have, so many sellers, they see the sketch and like, I'll give it to them. They want these things. Give it to them. It separates you from the competition.
This fabulous. Keep one. Oh.
So first, you want to make sure, if you notice on the top, it says municipality is not selected. So you want to make sure you get to that first. I go on to Wayne County and you choose what city you want to do. In this case, I'm just going to do Dearborn. Okay. So now it says city of Dearborn. You're able to type in an address.
3252 Lincoln.
Okay, I know where that is. Okay, so you find the parcel number. See, it says item 1 of 2, and here's the image of the house. Just go over to the next photo, and then it'll show you a sketch of the outside of the home. And it says this is 1.5 stories. Is that right? And it's 1,425 square feet. Simple, right? And then if there's an addition to the home, something extra after this day, you should see it in the back here. But I'll usually make sure this says 1.5 stories. Sometimes there would be a bungalow that was an attic upstairs. It was probably two bedroom bungalow,
Unfinished.
and it'll say 1 story. So now I have to measure the upstairs of attic, do half of it, and then add it onto that. But that's just extra work for free. You know, if you don't pay $3 every time. So
Thank
when
you.
you grow up poor, like this is what happens. You find ways around to make it work.
Or if you're a thief.
Wait a minute.
You don't have to grow up poor.
Either or is fine.
You're a shoplifter.
I wasn't watching. Did you say that you are the owner?
No, you didn't know.
Oh, okay, because there is one that lets you say you are the owner. They'll let you be the owner of like 3 homes before they say, I don't believe you.
I'm using the system.
How did you go in there? Just you didn't make an account? Is that it? You didn't-
No, I just clicked on search the address, go on the second photo, and it should show you a sketch of the house.
But that's just for the sketch, you don't get the rest of it.
No, you.
Right, he's just saying, like, for the sketch, we'll have the,
So here, I like it gives you everything. It gives you all the tax rolls, so you can
If you wanna
see
get
not only
details, you
the
need to
tax
sign up.
bills and see if they're up to date, but also any special assessments in there, any delinquent water. These things you need to know. Special assessments and delinquent water on tax prorations. This is a good point. This is something too, guys. We're teaching you some stuff from experiences that we had. If I own a home and I didn't pay my water bill and it gets added to my taxes, so it went delinquent and they added $1,400 delinquent water to my taxes. That's how they do it, because water is like taxes. It doesn't go in anyone's name, it goes in the property's name. So if you don't pay your water, it gets thrown on the summer tax bill, right? So my taxes normally are $4,000, but now I didn't pay my delinquent water, so now they're $5,400, but I'm selling the house. So I'm selling the house, and now the title company is getting ready to do tax prorations for your buyer. What should they prorate on? The $5,400 or the $4,000?
The 4,000, then let's separate
You
those.
wanna know how many times they make that mistake? And if you're a great buyer agent, you're the one that needs to know and can check if you see like, that seems like a big amount. So these are things like we should be aware of. Now, we hope that your lender, the buyer's lender, the title company, that they see these things, and they usually do. But if you wanna be a great agent,
especially on escrows too.
if you wanna be a great agent, you find these things.
Especially on escrows with the
Oh, yeah,
payment,
they'll
monthly
throw it
payment.
off. They'll throw it off big time.
600, 700, or let's say it's a $1,200 assessment. And it doesn't show that it's assessment, I think it's part of the taxes, that's $100 a month underpayment.
Special assessments, you guys understand what they are? I'm gonna say it anyway. So special assessment, let's say the block behind us, the sewage pipes are all getting old and corroded, and the city said, okay, we're gonna change them now. So what they'll do is, every house is gonna pay their equal share. They're gonna break it up. They're gonna see the cost. Say the cost was $1 million, and there's 100 houses or 1,000 houses. So every house was gonna pay $1,000, something like that. So then they'll add it onto the tax bill, and they might break them up in a couple payments, or to 2 different taxes, or 3 different taxes, whatever. So what happens? The title company always asks the question: were there any special assessments that you know about? And if the seller says no, then they can be legally responsible, for that amount that got put on them before they close. And the proper way for them to do it is they actually need to disclose it, and then the buyer needs to know, like, on your next 2 tax bills, you got X amount for this that was done. So sometimes, and a lot of times, special assessments can come from things that are not projects like that. That things like, let's say, seller wasn't cutting his grass and he got $300 worth of tickets because he wasn't cutting. So they put a special assessment on the tax bill. Is that your buyer's responsibility? No. So again, that amount shouldn't be prorated and shouldn't be charged to the buyer. It should be paid at closing by the seller.
Yep.
Little things that as you start looking at title commitments, which we're not the greatest at. But that's why it's really important you keep an excellent relationship with, your Sandy and your Lola and them, and then say, like, you can ask, I got this commitment, can you review it with me real quick? They gladly will. Really, it's Renee. Renee is the one that she'll send the policy to you guys. Call her or email her back. Renee, I need some help just on understanding what I'm seeing. And she'll call you to say, we're gonna need this, this, and this.
Page 2 of your seller disclosures says that on the special assessment. Probably you didn't read it, or the part where it says, if you answered yes to any of those, please explain. One of those yes questions is, are you aware of any special assessments on the, it says it. Many sellers go, no, 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 no. But if they do, you have to go through it with them. Are you aware of any special assessments? Was there any work done to the property by the city that you're aware of? We have a situation right now with a transaction in this market center, exactly the same thing. The work was done in May. Seller sold the property in June. Bill didn't come on the assessment until August, September. Buyer brought in the bill. Seller never mentioned it. Title never picked it up. So very important.
So in this case, like, there will be like a claim or a lawsuit between the seller and buyer?
Seller is aware of it. Seller knew.
Oh.
So it's gonna be the seller's responsibility. The title
The
company's gonna go
chain, the
after-
buyer will probably go after the title company, the title company will go after the seller.
But seller was aware of it. Seller
The
knew.
buyers are usually always covered. When the buyer gets a homeowner's policy, they're good.
Seller knew that the work was done to their property.
What we're saying to protect it is exactly as on the costs they pay at the closing. These are some things as a great buyer's agent you can look into to make sure they didn't pay it and now they gotta make a claim and go back to the title company because it was resolved at closing. So this is
A lot with condos because the association sometimes they do repairs and they prorate it. Sometimes like if they repair roofs, I had one, they repaired like a roof. And the selling agent said that the $300 a month or $200 extra was gonna end. So if it's prorated and let's say they buy the house in June and the billing goes to August, who's responsible from June to August?
Seller. All assessments are due at time of closing.
So it always, especially because I specialize in condos. I always like try to get a good standing, with the HOA. I would reach out to them and I would ask them about if there's any type of work or maintenance or any bills or invoices that the client that I'm representing, they had, and I would have them pay it before, I list it, or I would disclose it and pay at closing.
excellent advice. When you get any type of not only a condo listing, but subdivisions that have associations, instantly, like right when you list, like get to the association and let them know, we're listing this home for sale, we're gonna be selling it, and we're gonna, give them all the title company information from there, so the title company can get everything lined up. A lot of us wait to the last minute, and anyone who knows anything about the condo associations and homeowner associations, they move very slow. They don't care about your timeline, like they're probably taking 2-3 weeks.
Especially if it's self-governed, if it's actually the homeowners of that association that are governing it, not a management company. This is not their full-time job. They don't get paid.
There's
So they
fees
can care
involved
less.
too, both seller and buyers allowed. There's gonna be fees for the transfer and stuff. So these can't come as last minute surprises. So you get a condo, or you get a property that's in a subdivision with a homeowner association, right away.
Jump on it.
Find out who they are, get the phone number and give it to the title company and say, here's the homeowners association, here's the condo association, and then they'll get on and do their job.
If I'm the buyer, just said, if I'm the buyer and somebody's listed a condo, I would tell them, hey, look, I want a good standing letter. And it's basically just saying, the letter is just gonna say, there's a zero invoice for the HOA, you know, maintenance or whatever, you know. Based on the subdivision.
Thank you, Simon, that's great information.
One thing, guys, before we conclude also, whether you're on the buyer side or whether you're on the seller side, please, 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 and I repeat, very important, can we make sure the parties who are involved in signing and having to be at the closing are available for the day that you're setting that purchase agreement in place or the seller being in town in place. We're getting way too many, we're getting sloppy with this, and I don't like seeing that at all. What I mean by getting sloppy is I'll say, we're clear to close, they'd like to score on Monday, but the seller's on vacation. Why? Why when we took this offer in and it says closing on or before this day, the seller told you, I'm not gonna be in town, why was it okay for you to say it's okay? It's not, because now you're adding a layer of power of attorney, adding a layer of re-signing, you're adding a layer of, oh, let me make sure the seller is back, let me make sure your parties, whether it's a buyer or a seller, hey, are you doing anything on April 15 when this day closing day is gonna take place? No. And if it's a buyer, again, please, all of you do a good job, but we keep insisting on that. Buying a home is a big deal, yes or no?
Absolutely.
It's a big event in their life, is it or not? Right? I'm working that day. Guess what, Mr. Buyer? It's 45 days from now. Could we arrange for a time off so that everybody can close early? So we're not closing at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and there's no funding and stuff lingers for the next day. This is sloppy work. You don't want to be a sloppy agent. Sloppy agents do that type of work. I'm going to close at 7 p.m. and then I'm going to have him come in the next day and they're going to do their part. And then circumstances happen. But if you're buying a home, if I'm buying a home and I'm a buyer, I'm excited, man. I'm closing on Monday. I'm telling my boss, hey, I need a half a day.
You're gonna need to allocate at least 2 hours.
I need 2 hours. Give me an extra lunch. Instead of going on lunch at 12, I'm going to go at lunch at 10 to 12 or 11 to, get it? Instead of just saying, oh, go do your work normal, we'll close after you get off work. No, it's a big day, big event. Schedule that time appropriately, but very important when you do the purchase agreement, or if you accept an offer from your seller or do an offer for yourself, verify that all parties are going to be available that day to be able to execute it properly. Because there's nothing more fun than having buyer seller at the same time close, buyer getting the keys to the house and seller getting their money and everybody walking away cheerful, happy.
And on that note, all statements, if I'm on the seller end, I'm reviewing my seller statement with my seller before, the day before closing minimum.
Yes.
So I want to get it from the title company 2 days before closing, so I can look at it first with the title company, make sure everything right. 90+% of the time, I'm gonna have to make a change. So don't get it incorrect and be like, oh my God, they meant 90% of the time, I'm gonna have to make a change. The majority of that time, it's from me. I forgot to tell them we changed the price after the private, or we did this, or we did
Or a
that.
reimbursement.
Or I had a 90% of the time, I fix it, give it back to Sandy or whoever, boom, they bounce it back, good. I tell them seller side approved. Call my seller, hey, I wanna go ahead and review the statements with you. I just emailed it to you. When you get a chance, it can sit down, let's review it together, give me a call, we'll go over it on the phone. We go over it from this line, boom, 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 boom. You're gonna show up to closing, this is the amount you're gonna be getting tomorrow at closing. Sounds great. They come in, they're so relaxed. Lola goes over the numbers with them, she asks right away, did you get a chance to review this with Mike? They're like, yeah, we
Yes.
did. She's like, okay, does that number match up? They're like, yes, it does. They're so relaxed and so cool, guaranteed 5-star review, right?
Everything
Nah.
else is clear.
Not come to closing, I don't know, honey, I'm not sure how much money are we getting, and then Lola comes in and she's like, we don't know, like, what is that, what is this, what is that, terrible closing. Buyer side, a little bit different, if there's a lender involved, I'm not going over with them their mortgage costs and all those things, what am I looking for? Did they prorate taxes correctly? Is my broker compliance fee there? Is my commission correct? That's it. That's all I'm looking for on the buyer side. Then I'm gonna tell my buyer, did you get a chance to review your numbers with your lender? And she can say, no, I didn't. Dalia, we're good to go, we're closing tomorrow, when are you gonna review with her? She's waiting for you. Okay, we'll do it. Call again, did you get a chance to review with Dalia? Yeah, I did. You're all set, you know how much money you need to bring or wire? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not getting involved in talking about the mortgage fees and costs and all that stuff. It's not our job. You guys got that? So that's how you can have great closings in advance. They're only showing up with a smile and happy to sign, and they already know everything.
Closings are not the operating room. Okay, it's not life or death. Closings should be a fun event. We shouldn't be panicking, like, oh my
If
God.
that's your closing room, you scheduled the closing too quick.
Yep.
It shouldn't have been scheduled that fast. We all want to make our money and we got bills to pay and we got to do these things, but that's also how you make things uncomfortable and uneasy. So let it fall in place. You get that call, hey, we're clear to close. Great. Glad we're clear, awesome. What works best for your clients on Friday? You know, if it was today, I'd say the earliest I'm gonna go for if I got it clear to close for today is Wednesday.
Yeah.
How's Wednesday look for you?
Good.
Good, seller's good. Go back to the lender. Hey, we like Wednesday. Wednesday good for you? Wednesday's great. Title company, let's go. Wednesday, 4 o'clock. So now on Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, I'm gonna be looking for statements. Honestly, if I even set a Wednesday from today, it's kind of pushing the title company a little bit. Thursday would be great. Thursday would be so smooth. See what happens when someone comes in and pushes, let's say you push. So that's how I schedule. Let's say you push, and there's a lot of agents here, probably 75%, where they get a clear to close today. They're gonna call Lola, can we schedule on Monday? Can we close on Monday? Like now you're just pushed in front of those who said Wednesday, Thursday, and now they feel pressured that if they don't do it, maybe some other title company would, so they gotta break down, and that's when everything starts getting all sloppy. That's bad business. Patience, organization. So we can communicate, everybody can know what's going on, nice and peaceful.
I have a question. Where's the buyers out of town? Or just they live out of state, which is what I have right now. It's a cash buyer, so they're wiring everything. Do they have to come in for closing?
No,
Okay.
no, this day and age, even with, a cash buyer doesn't even need remote online notarization. The seller would, because the most important document in the sale, if there's no mortgage, is the deed. So a remote online notary needs to see the seller, that they signed it themselves, good to go. Everything else can be done by email. Buyers, cash, send the money, almost nobody cares about anything. You just do it through email, nobody cares.
Email or overnight.
Now, once you get a mortgage involved, the bank cares tremendously. So every rule of a remote online notary or however you're doing it with the buyer, it's up to the bank. You always have to talk to the lender, talk to the lender, talk to the lender. And if the lender approves it, then most likely it conforms with the title company's requirements as well. Our title company will bend a lot for us, guys, as long as they're not putting themselves in jeopardy or breaking the law. They'll do everything in the world they can for us. Lenders are very strict. Usually you gotta go back and forth with the lenders.
If it's a topic that you should know that you don't know, there's nothing wrong in saying, let me find out and I'll get back with you. There's nothing wrong in saying that. Let me know, let me find out, let me double check, let me confirm, I'll get back with you. If it's a topic that is none of your business, not in your lane, you have nothing to do with it. Mortgage related, lender related, don't say, let me find out and I'll call you back. Now you involve yourself in the middle of something, you know what, let me have the lender reach out to you, or did you reach out to the lender? I'm gonna call and make sure they reach out to you. Then your job is just to connect the dots. I see way too many scenarios where people are coming to me asking about lender stuff. Why are you a real estate agent? Why are you asking and talking to the client about lending items? That's what the lender's job is. Everybody stay in their lane. But if it's something you don't know that you want to help with, that you're supposed to know, there's nothing wrong in saying, you know what, let me double check, let me confirm, I'll get back with you on that. Let me find out, I'll get back with you on that.
Even when you know, when it's outside of our realm, whether it's legal or lending or surveys, even when you know the answer, say, to the best of my knowledge, whatever you're gonna tell them. However, I would still highly encourage you to consult with your attorney or your accountant or the lender. You know, so you can tell them, to the best of my knowledge, tell them what your answer, and then guide them. I would still check. They might not, but you did your part. Nobody, they can never come back and say, you told me this.
Great point.
I said, to the best of my knowledge, and you should consult. Always be careful about the words that come out of your mouth, because those you own, and we're only as good in this industry, we're only as good as the words that come out of our mouth. Think about it. Hoda wants to buy a property from me, right? And I'm showing it to her, and she asked me, you know, like, what are your thoughts about this investment and this? And I'm like, Hoda, I believe it's a great investment. You're gonna stay here for X amount of years, blah, 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 blah. And so she believes me, and she takes that into her heart, and she makes a decision based on it. If I start becoming known as somebody who just says things just to say them, and I'm unreliable and untrustworthy and all that, and she knows that, I'm done. I should just go get a new profession, because I won't make it in this business. So be careful about everything that comes out of your mouth. And that's why when you don't know, the right answer, it's my favorite answer in the world for anything, is I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that right now, but I'm gonna find out for you and get back to you. It's the greatest answer you can ever have.
I sound so smart.
Don't lie. Exactly. Say, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I'm gonna find out and get back to you. And you have plenty of knowledgeable people in this market center who can always answer these questions. You guys research, put a little effort into it. There's no need ever to do anything about it.
Can I ask one more question?
Go ahead.
Before everybody gets this. So, like a lot of my buyers will ask how much are the taxes on the house and like whatever is it? Usually what's on the MLS, are they reassessed based on like, purchase price after?
Good question. So I'll show you guys real quick. So we come here, so what you see as taxes is always the last two tax bills, right? So you'll see the last winter and the last summer. What are they gonna be? When you have clients that ask you, what might they be? You wanna be a great agent and give them an example. Be prepared for them to be shocked too, right? But, so it could go both ways, but when they ask, what might they be? This is what you do. So you come on Realcom, you go to external links, and you go to millage rates. So you're gonna get the property tax estimator. So you'll begin estimating taxes. Now, let's say you're gonna be selling this house for 400,000. Is gonna be the sales price. The worst case scenario, because what assessors like to do, and they're not supposed to do, but what they do is they get that property transfer affidavit and they're like, oh, this house sold for 400,000, so it must be worth 400,000. So therefore, the SEV, the worst case scenario, they value it at 400,000 is going to be half of that, 200,000, right? So you put 200,000 in there, and then that's where we're doing Dearborn, right? So we're gonna go to, oops, not Shiawassee. We're gonna go to Wayne County. We're gonna go to Dearborn, and then we're gonna go to Dearborn Public Schools. Yeah, 400,000 in Dearborn at your homestead right now. The worst case scenario, you're gonna be paying about 12.3 per year in tax. You guys see that? So that's how you would know. Now that $400,000 house right now, if it's been owned for like 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, probably $6 grand.
Or less.
So they're gonna double. So they're probably gonna double. That's how you can be. Do I volunteer this information? I don't.
They ask it all the time.
If they ask it, then I supply it. But do I volunteer it? I don't. Because to me, still, it's not my duty to go and tell them what their taxes might be. I'll only do my best to answer the question in the worst case scenario if they ask me, because this lane is more of the lender lane.
100%.
Because the lender is gonna be the one that's gonna be determining, can they afford this property based on what the taxes are gonna be in the future? So that's more of a lender lane.
Here's
Somebody's covering it.
A great answer to that question is, you know what, I don't know for certain, you can go ahead and check with your lender. I taught you how to see a worst case scenario, but you can always push them to the lender.
I just ask because like sometimes like, let's say they're like really on a budget. I don't wanna like put them in a situation that,
Got it.
live with the house.
But you're not putting them in a situation, they're putting in themselves, and if they're dealing with a lender, the lender is gonna be the one that's gonna talk to them.
I just
about
want
it.
to know if it's my responsibility.
Let me tell you something, if this is worth anything, even if they go to the city won't tell them that amount.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this? So why do you feel like you are gonna take ownership into that amount? I don't. I say I don't know what the taxes will be. roughly, I could give you a kind of like an estimate of what similar properties could be up to potentially, but I really don't know. Even if you go to the assessor's office and you tell them I'm buying this house on this property and I'm paying this much, what will my taxes be? You know what the assessor's gonna tell you?
I don't know.
We don't know. I don't know. It's gonna depend on what the assessor does. These people at the front desk.
They copy the PRD.
But
That's why a lot of people won't turn in the PRD.
I've had it happen
A
before.
lot of people don't turn in the public record data, and they'll just take the $250 fee and let the city have to guess. A lot of people do that, it's strategy.
Mike, I got an appointment at 12.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, guys, have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Strategy.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of commercial businesses, they won't turn in the sales price.
This is like when you buy a car and you put like a big price.
Yeah.
and you go-
Okay, how do you not turn it in?
You just don't turn it in. So, and then the,
Because
There-
when I look it up and then.
I'm not advising you to do this by
No,
no
no,
means.
but when I'm looking up at properties to see how much they sold for or whatever, and it's all blank, those people did not turn it in.
Well, sometimes they'll have request the title company on the deed to put sold for $1 and then not turn in the property transfer affidavit with the sales price. Because they don't want people to know, and not, majority of the time, they don't want the city to know, they would rather have the city guess.
So in this case, they will pay taxes for the old,
No, then the city, once the city sees that, oh, there was a sale here, then the cap of the old taxes comes off and it gets assessed on the new value. And then the city, the burden is on them and the assessor to determine value, without us voluntarily giving it to them or giving the sales price to them on the property transfer affidavit. Because then they look at it and they're like, okay, if you bought it for 400, it must be worth 400, they just copy it.
Yeah, because I think some of us are confusing the appraisal value and the assessment. So every year, the city would automatically just guess how much that property is worth, and they would tax it based on whatever they think, not whatever we.
As a homeowner, yeah, every February, you get in the mail your current assessments of the properties that you own and what are they valuing them at. If that amount is off, like if you say my home is no way, it's worth this much, it's worth way less, and I can prove it, you can go change it and reduce your taxes. That happens every March. That's about to happen now.
They don't listen to what you have to say. I went to the board before at their house. They just sit up there. You gotta prove that the other houses are the same as your house, and you gotta get their files.
Right. And they can't be distress sales, meaning either foreclosure, short sales, which there are, I don't know anyways. But what was the question each bit?
I was gonna say, like, I know this guy who buys hundreds, it's a company who buys hundreds of properties in Detroit, and this guy just refuses to go turn in the affidavit. And the last sale was probably sold like 10 years ago for 10,000, or else probably like 80,000 in Detroit. And I think that's why he doesn't want to turn it in, because they don't want to reassess it.
Some would say smart.
If he's
So
got
he's
100
probably paying
properties.
$250 per property in penalty for not turning it in.
Yeah, but he saves a lot.
Yeah,
Is that the penalty?
yeah. It says on there, it's like $15 a day after 45 days up to a max of $250.
Oh, did you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
some people do that.
My taxes went up a lot because I bought my house in 2008 for 100,000 and now it's like 350.
They're gonna make you come in and fill one out eventually though, but you
Yeah.
just don't put
They
the
do
sales
every year
price on
anyway.
it.
You might save a year or two.
And I would hate for the client to say, oh, Simon told me not to turn it in.
That's what I'm saying. Oh my God.
Simon says.
So-
All right, guys. Everybody- My shoes, I have the same pair.
Oh, really?
Like some of them, those are like when I go to, it, I gotta worry about it with their-
Like, nothing else to wear. But